Sorceress Stabber Orphen. Yeah, this is a cool anime. Start off with, I got into this anime actually through the manga, like I have with several others. It was in middle school, I think, and it was one of the school book fair things, and I saw that volume. I was like, oh, that's cool. I remember my buddy Transangel got it, and that was cool. And I didn't really touch it. It was actually the first manga I ever got, like ever purchased and ever read. And then one day I was homesick from school, and or I was sick, and I stayed home from school or whatever. I'm weird. And I read it, and it's like, oh, this is interesting, I thought the character Childman had a funny name. Orphen was interesting. Cleo was interesting. Magic was interesting. I thought it was funny how his name was Magic. Magic. That's really funny. That's like having a character in Dragon Ball Z and calling him Monk, or having a character in Naruto and naming him Ninja. But and then obviously I rented the anime from Blockbuster. This was before I did GameFly, and I don't even do Netflix, even though I do know that they do have an anime section. But yeah, I mean, and it was pretty good. The music was pretty good. The voice cast was pretty good. Like I've mentioned before in my review and my thoughts on the game when I got it from GameFly, I think David Matranga is the best Orphen. Quentin Flynn was a good choice, but I prefer David Matranga. And Spike Spencer also does Magic. I think that was one of his earlier roles. It's kind of funny though, because in the outtakes he does mention the role of Shinji. I'll have to get to the outtakes at some point. I'm going to talk about both the anime and the manga in this one because I have like experience in both, and I don't think I'm going to do a manga that I've read video series, even though that wouldn't take as long. But I enjoyed it and whatnot. And skipping ahead and going along with the manga, and not the manga, the anime. Last year I got the anime DVD set because I wanted to watch the entire series, and I got into like buying anime DVDs, and I found it on Amazon. This was like one of their first release of Sentai Filmworks, the people who took over ATV Films stuff. Because I know that ATV Films did the dub, but they recently closed down. I was like, okay, who has the rights to Orphen? And I looked up, and it was Sentai Filmworks, and I bought their DVD, and yeah, it's a nice DVD set. They fixed it up. They kept a lot of the cool stuff. It's the exact same dub too. And of course, the more recent Sentai Filmworks release I purchased was Koihime Muso. Anyway, so and Orphen was particularly excited about this. I showed him the anime, and he's like, "Whoa, this is awesome." He actually got that from his name, obviously from Orphen. I mean, this isn't his like. It's just the name that I call him. He actually has like several internet names. His real name is AJ, and I think I mentioned that once before. And of course, he's been in a few videos, and I'll mention his name when we do a certain video that I won't tell you guys about. Anyway, Transangel or Nick or whatever you want to call him, he watched a little bit of it, but Orphen and I primarily watched the whole thing, and it was kind of funny because I remember in one of my Wheneverly updates I mentioned about how we felt about the Orphen anime. We finished it, the second season, which I found to be pretty interesting because I felt like it was different from the first one, and and I'll get to like what I think of each season because there are two. It was kind of funny because Orphen was like, "Man, don't you feel weird? I mean, wow, I feel weird. I was like, I don't really feel weird." But then like I went out that night and I couldn't get the Orphen Revenge first closing theme song out of my head. I loved it, so I was like, "Yeah, that's a very weird song." I also kept thinking about Tales of Rebirth, but Plus, I also think summer was kind of coming to a close, and we had been watching Orphen like literally all summer, basically. But as far as what I think of each season, the first season, I thought it would follow the manga. However, I was wrong in a way, and I'll get to that later because I'll get to that in a minute. There's actually something weird about it. I think it followed the manga, but not the manga I read. I guess I'll say that for now, and I'll just leave it at that until I talk about it. The story was pretty much this, the same, like, little spoilers. Ozzy, gets killed in her dragon form, but then she takes over Chalman's body. And, whatnot. They took out the second Orphen that appeared in the manga that I read, who was, like, Orphen from, like, a previous day, and he was, like, apparently stronger, but Orphen still kicked ass. And, all that good junk. And, it ended with, like, Ozzy getting restored to her regular body, and, Chalman being inside Ozzy's belly because she's pregnant with him, which is kind of weird. Some like little like resurrection thing. That's really the last we see of Ozzy throughout the whole thing. She tampered with like some weird magic and it turned her into a dragon. And Orphen was like, "Don't do it!" Then he got pissed and changed his name to Orphen and left the Tower of Fang and became like a renegade magician, I guess we could say. And, they're trying to find the, can't remember the name of the sword. I almost want to say Decaforce sword. I don't think that's right, though. I don't think that's right. Decaforce sword. I know they were trying to get a sword back and whatnot. They finally did get it back, but then friggin' Bulkin and what's-her-face, the Velma-looking girl, took it, It's funny. Like, and Orphen hated them both. He's like, "What the fuck? They're retarded. We hate them." I didn't really mind them because I have, like, extreme tolerance and whatnot. And I do understand that for the most part of the dub, the dialogue was actually changed significantly. And I went back to check, too. Like, Orphen and I watched a little bit of the Japanese version, and the English version, he says, "Let's play Spin the Bottle." That's Orphen's opening line, but in the Japanese version, he says, "Sword of Light, I'm going to shoot you," or something like that. And, it's kind of funny because, like, in the outtakes, Orphen's voice actor is like, "Just don't make me say the name of the attacks." I guess he didn't want to do that. Of course, that kind of is what Orphen does. And, probably now he would be more serious about it. I don't know. That's like the only role that I actually know him in. I know that he's